Amnesia. Forget all the quarrels, the deceits and disappointments, each time you were humiliated and cheated by your lover, and every time you caused upsets that never could be cured. Forget all about your failures as a lover fool and freak and fake, and concentrate instead on that which mattered. Your true love which always was there, aching, burning under cover in its constantly abused faithfulness, surviving every winter and catastrophe, in spite of all, to go on loving, which is all the memory that counts, the memory of love that never dies. Eagles and butterflies. This love is of some matter and concern, involving some responsibility that is not easily escaped from, since we can't escape from love. Its character is fleeting like a butterfly, but at the same time soaring like an eagle, and can in no way be caged and fettered, since the butterfly will always flutter out, and eagles without freedom are not eagles. Let us meet and join up there while we are soaring, and leave out the limits of the mundane imperfection, separating us and keeping us out of desirable communication, since our love is all the freedom that we have, the wings of which are for the eagle's use and butterflies to keep us sparkling, soaring, and enjoying, if not our mutual presence, then at least our mere existence. The impossible truth. You search for it but never find it, since it is unfathomable in its vastness, inescapable in cruelty and realism, unconquerable in inestimableness, and utterly horrendous, since there is no greater enemy of poetry than truth, reality, and facts. Still you can't help going for it, burning up and out yourself on it, in some strange self-destructive urge to just consume yourself, in the extremest, most impossible of quests, to learn what all this really is about. Sentimentality. Where will it lead us, this sentimentality, that drags us down into a bog of feelings without end and without bottom, where we perish drowning in our tears, while at the same time heaven lifts us up on eagle wings of golden love unto the realm of infinite felicity, on flights of starlit magic of eternity? No wonder I get so completely sentimental over you, since I find no way out of this predicament of stuck in bogs and lost in heaven, except by just giving in to you. In the still of the night. In the still of the night my heart shines so bright, in my longing for you just to see what you do, in your loveliest hue in the light of the night, which gives you all the right to command me and own me, since you only love me like I will love you, being ever more true to the love that we own, so sincerely once sown from the trust of our heart, grown together in smart, never ever to part, from the love of our heart, that we always shall grow to outstanding survival, for heaven to mow in eternal revival. The Laziness of Aphrodite, a love lesson. The laziest of goddesses is only good for work in bed, and therefore rather would not leave it, but just stay there, going on in bed, alluring everyone to serve her, and her whims of love to stay in bed, with you just working hard for her, and she receiving only, in her laziness, the most privileged of gods and goddesses. But she is not entirely without rewards. She grows forever in her beauty, and that beauty is contagious, spilling over into all her lovers, who learn to enjoy it and adopt it, cultivating it as lessons of her love, to go on spreading it not only into other beds and other lovers, but all round and everywhere, as love should spread indeed in every bed, to make the world a better and a saner place, the hotbed being laziness. Flowing as always, crying for you as always, I'm drowning in you as always, wiping my tears as always, away from my chin, but as always, they keep coming on, pouring down as always, renewing themselves more efficiently as always, than I even can cry them out, since as always you keep booming in my mind with your music as always, more devastatingly than any live music, since as always you are the sole live music in my life, which as always keeps me going on as always, at least never tiring of you, since you are there always. Inspiration. You bring out the best in me, my warmest feelings and my tenderest heart, my deepest constructivity and piety, and my sincere humility and reverence. With you I have my heart's content, and can have nothing more, can wish for nothing more, and have no further needs. I simply couldn't have it any better, and yet we continue forwards to develop and create our lives to even higher heights of happiness. That is the finest miracle of all, that we have only just begun. Meditation. I meditate on you, extolling in your harmony and lustre, never minding your new grey hairs, adding silver to your gold, that only makes it even more serene and precious, as the jewels of your soul enrich our lives, and turn them into something of a never-ending treasure, of our love to ever swim and drown and wallow in, to draw new life and breath from this unfathomable beauty that is you in your good heart and beatification of our lives. So could I go on meditating and forever, dreaming only lovely energizing dreams that turns my whole existence into one-sided creativeness, of which I never would complain, but only work the harder to maintain it. In the deep of the night, there is a fathomless silence of stars shining bright for eternity, irreducible lights that never go out, like our love, the miraculous light of which more is like some profound, uncompromising enigma that never can be either solved or divined in its incomprehensible darkness, concealing a starlight of more potent light than the brightest of all heaven outshining stars. Shall we try to approach, comprehend, and get down to it? No, for the answer to its distant irony and ambiguity is maybe as obvious as ever in all heaven's stars, that they shine best the further away we are kept from their mystery. The Queen of Night. The nightclub queen just doesn't care, since everyone loves her anyway, they being all to her just fools and slaves of love, of drugs and alcohol, of libido and sex, while she just leisurely enjoys their folly, laughing at the feebleness of man, his most ridiculous self-humiliation for the whims and beauty of just any wanton woman. But I will have none of it, and rather cue my anger at this gross unworthiness and terrible abuse of love, in bitter isolation and tempestuous fury, to rather plague myself with tortuous frustration than risk touching any one of those abusive dames who gladly sacrifice whatever chance of sincere love they had for just a moment of abusive pleasure, of the opportunity to trample down all human feelings. Marlowe and Shakespeare. I cannot help it, but in those dramatic lines, for centuries now published under Shakespeare's name, I keep on hearing Marlowe's mighty line, as if behind Macbeth and Hamlet, Julius Caesar and Othello, there was Tamburlaine behind them all at bottom, buried deep but never dead, in ever-resurrected, unsurpassed, consistent cruelty, a theme recurrent constantly in Marlowe, in The Jew, the Duke of Guise, the fate of Faustus, and poor royal Edward, buried to the triumph of the boring Puritans, obscurely, atheistically, and anonymously whisked away, to be replaced by Shakespeare's chastised, mollified modification, without controversial stuff, but with a poetry triumphing over death and vanity, the more in booming verse, in straight continuation from the drama launched by Marlowe. Well, it has been proved that Marlowe was in difficulty, seriously accused of atheism and homosexuality, and other controversial stuff most insolently published by himself, like pamphlets against church and order and an atheistic lecture, which would mean, if he did not abscond, then he would certainly be executed. Now his death appears as the most masterfully staged of all Elizabethan plays, a well-concealed intrigue performed obscurely, just to make a show of a most controversial poet's demise, for the obvious purpose to just let him be, remain alive, and go on with his work, but under cover for security. Thus Shakespeare enters as a mediator for the continuity of Marlowe's drama, although modified, to let it grow in ever more astounding glory, in its mighty lines on stage, to never die, like Macbeth, Hamlet, and Othello, Julius Caesar and the mighty Tamburlaine the Great, most threatening and most immortal menace of them all. Marlowe och Shakespeare. Jag kan inte hjälpa det, men i det dramaverk av poesi som under sekler nu har publicerats under Shakespeares namn, så hör jag omisskännligt Marlowes mäktiga verseraders språkfest och rytmik, som om det bakom Hamlet och Othello, Julius Caesar och Macbeth, det dolde sig en Tamburlaine i underjorden, djupt begraven men ej bortglömd eller död, i ständigt återuppstånden, oöverträffad och beständig grymhet. Marlowes tema som ju återkommer ständigt genom juden, hertigen av Guise och doktor Faustus öde och den olycklige Edward. Mördar och begraven till de trista puritanernas triumf och skadeglädje, ärelöst och gudlöst anonymt bortsmusslad ner i jorden för att ersättas av Shakespeares tuktade tillrättalagda modifikationer, utan kontroversiellt bagage, men med en desto mera triumfartad poesi, besegrande all fåfänga och död i bolmande skön verskonst, i den rakaste kontinuitet från Marlowes dramer. Det har sedermera visat sig att Marlowe var i svårigheter, anklagad för ateism och homosexualitet och andra allvarliga kontroverser, fräckt nog publicerade av honom själv i form av emot kyrkan och samhällets ordning riktade pamfletter samt en ateistisk föreläsning, vilket, om man inte undkom, skulle innebära avrättning direkt. Nu framstår hans sorti genom en iscensatt död som det mest praktfullt genomförda av den tidens dramer, en väl dold intrig i löndom utförd, bara för att dölja väl en kontroversiell poets försvinnande, för att blott tydligen få låta honom vara och förbli vid liv och fortsätta arbeta, men för säkerhetens skull i skydd av annat namn. Så kommer Shakespeare in i bilden som en medlare för kontinuitetens skull av Marlowes drama, nu modifierat, för att låta detta växa i en ständigt högre härlighet i mäktig vers på scen, för att som Hamlet och Othello, Julius Caesar och Macbeth ej någonsin dö bort och tystna, liksom Tamburlaine den store, störst och överlägsnast, som den mest odödligt hotfulle av alla. The dream of you. All I ever gave you is for keeps. I'll never take a moment back of all that we have had together, which I gave you for your own forever. When resources end and our bond is broken, we shall still have all our dreams, the memories of more treasurability than any mundane stuff for base consumption, like you entered me to constantly remain there, as a chronic inflammation in my heart of beauty of a most contagious kind, since it has permeated all my life and does so still and more than ever, as if I could never do without you, even when long after we have left each other. Let it be, let it remain so, let the paradise continue, let the garden of our love continue growing for the benefit of all, and for the cure of everything that wasn't born of love and beauty. A sermon, the lady to her frustrated wooer. My dear, it will not do to argue. We are not of that sort that will listen to an angry voice impassioned by frustrated blindness of misguided egoism you thought was love, but only was a bolt carried away into the dark. You cannot build a dialogue or a relationship of any kind on one part's will, since listening is always more important for the dialogue and the relationship to live at all, than just to talk and give free reins to any gallop which is bound to run amok if you don't check it. There is no one who can judge or know or feel another's feelings. They are sacred to the individual as the most personal possession she will ever have, and none has any right to touch them or to importuningly take them for granted. Love can never be assumed or taken casually for granted. That is the supreme presumption and a minefield that will just explode into your face if you tread carelessly into it. Love and feelings is an abyss, a descending into hell, where you shall never find a way out unless guided solely by your love, which always must be pure. That is the only lighthouse in the stormy night, the purity, sincerity, and the profundity of selfless love that never makes presumptions, never takes for granted, never risks to hurt or trample others' feelings down, but always moves with carefulness and tenderness to only silently adore and cherish with the utmost care, preferably to never even dare to touch it. Flying on broken wings. Love is an idealism which only can survive as such. You have to idolize your love, or it will die, and anything subverting, acting to debase your love from its ideal ground will, unless checked, destroy and kill it. It will keep alive as long as it may keep on flying, and no longer, for when wings no longer can uphold it, keeping it on constant upright course and ever striving higher, it will fall by lack of air under its wings, and lose the freedom that was all the nourishment of love. But I will be your tears when you, forlorn on earth, emotionally shipwrecked like a nightingale with broken wings, have nothing else to do but to cry out your heart, to be there when you cry, and you shall find me in your very tears, to lift you up again on golden wings in warbling song, where we shall fly together in the sun and cry our hearts out in our song of freedom. Danger! Another sleepless night. One day without you is just a waste of time, an irreparable, outrageous loss, a day of mourning and a day robbed of your life, to be remembered with dishonour as the worst investment of your time. Frustrated, you can never be more angry, since you never can have that one day repaired, and you can never have it back. How then shall we avoid such losses, such catastrophes, calamities, fatalities, and fearful, unforgivable, unheard of dropouts in the future? We had better sleep together constantly, and never let each other out of sight, or else we might get lost on erring, fateful paths of straying wilderness, to lose our basic touch, the only life we have, which is our love, which needs togetherness. Simplistic statement. Our love is holy and divine, and therefore so untouchable for others even to suspect the nature of its truth and honesty. But let them think the worst, and we shall do our best to keep it going, flowing, flying, in the bliss of our secret, which is just in all simplicity that we can never do without each other any more. Let's stick to that then, and forget that ever we were tempted to imagine there was any other possibility for us than just to live exclusively within each other. Magnetism. To just lie quietly and dream of you is such a full-time work that nothing could be more exhausting, since nothing could more permeate my life, my being, my existence, than your being, which is all I have at heart, to boast of and to cherish as a drunkard his last bottle. Let's enjoy it then, and drink it up before it is too late, and that wine gets too sour to be relished properly. We have it here and now, so let's just get together and get stuck together, never to let go of our love. Friends, a kind of definition. Love is indefinable and strange, a weird adventure of capricious risks, with everything at stake and nothing really to be won except experience, which always is for good and worse. And those who have enough experience of the controversial kind and have found out the traps and fallacies and vanities of human hearts know all too well that love is just a dangerous attraction to get burned and damaged by for life, with sometimes losses irreparable to keep on crying over for a lifetime sentence, and reduce, therefore, their love's ambition to the acquisition of a lasting friendship. That's the best thing, actually, that can be gained by love, a lasting, ever more enriching and developing reward. So if you really want true love and keep it, just make sure to make your love's best friend, and then be constant in your love's ambition to retain and cultivate that friendship. Some conciliatory advice. When a man tires of love, he tires of life. And when he is tired of life, there is always death to resort to, as if that could be something better, which it is to failed lovers who have given up. So, whatever you give up in life, never give up love, since that is actually all you have to make life worthwhile rather than death. And remember how love can offer you all sorts of extra things, like hang-ups, down-unders, dissolution in tears, bereavement, deception, and smothering frustration. But the miracle is that you still can go on loving, which, in spite of all, sometimes is a better thing to do than to stop loving. Love and death. Never mix your love with such absurdities as base illusions of mortality. Love doesn't go along with death, since love is just the opposite. And if a love relationship fades out and dies, it simply wasn't true love, since you recognize it by its talent for survival, spiting any obstacle, surmounting all adversities, and just continuing to grow. develop and increase forever if you want. Mortality and death is only an illusion which, at best, transports love definitely to infinity. Work situation. You just can't help it, falling asleep all the time in front of the silly computer, which just gives you any amount of silly jobs, boring jobs, tedious jobs. So you just fall asleep trying to handle them, and then, since you keep falling asleep, you can't get any work done in front of the computer, which all the time insists on sending you to sleep. Whatever you try to work with, your concentration is sabotaged by your falling asleep. So your boring work keeps mounting in heaps for you to keep falling asleep by, which problem keeps you awake at night, so that then you never can sleep anymore, thinking of all that work that keeps growing, since you always fall asleep trying to deal with it, while, when all you can do is to think about it, it just keeps you awake, as if falling asleep at your work was something to worry about, to keep you awake when all you would want is to sleep. Äkta vara. Jag tänker bara på dig, min älskade, fast jag inte känner dig. Jag känner inte kärlekens språk, men jag känner kvinnan och älskar henne, och äkta kärlek behöver inget språk. Allt väsentligt står skrivet mellan raderna, och att utlägga och förklara det är att förstöra det, genom konkretiseringens vulgaritet och förfulning, det grövsta av helgerån. Så låt min rena kärlekstanke vara helig i fred, och kräv intet mera än dess äkthet, som är det enda kärleken kräver för att överleva.